People of Reddit, what does your job ask you to hide from the customers? At the hotel I worked at, if a guest found a stray bed bug, all staff were instructed to neither confirm nor deny that it was an actual bed bug. Word games were not fun. My last job was a white-labeled help desk. You had to hide the fact that your company existed at all from the customer. You had to pretend you were from whatever company the customer was using for their IT. As a tattoo artist, oftentimes apprentices at the end of their apprenticeship will start to tattoo paying customers, walk-ins, and for a few tattoo shops, the apprenticeships are much shorter than they need to be. So if you're getting tattooed but someone who seems to be young or they seem inexperienced, they probably are, and they're probably still in their apprenticeship, but the shop will tell you they're actual artists. Do your research when thinking about getting a tattoo, and don't be afraid to wait months, or even years, for the right artist for you. It'll save you from really shitty tattoo. MD in pathology. We are the ones who give the bottom line diagnosis and staging for most cancers and many other diseases. In a weird way, the patient isn't our customer, their doctor is. We are telling them what the diagnosis is and what evidence we have to support it. Anything we say can trigger them to do a whole new treatment plan or a bunch more tests, so we have to be careful not to mention random things that we see unless we want them acting in it. For example, we might think these megakaryocytes are a little small and I see a few of them bunched together here, but it's only in a couple spots. If we bring it up it might seem more significant than that, and trigger a distracting question about one disease process when we know that's not the actual problem. A big part of the training is learning how to communicate the truth without clouding it with the truth. Unfortunately, this often means that the reports are almost unintelligible to the patients because they are not the intended audience of the report really. The restroom. I work at a small privately owned pet store. It's the most trashy store ever, and the bathroom is a room with a toilet, water heater and buckets. To use it you have to through the back room, which is where we keep the rats and stuff. Basically it's employees only. Well, one lady asked to use the restroom, we let her, and she stole a turtle that was being soaked in the sink on her way out. We caught her stuffing it in her bra but she got away. Now if a customer asks if we have a bathroom I have to say no. You'd be amazed at how good construction workers become at hiding flaws. It's quite nearly a part of the job description and a large reason why so much of construction effort is put towards cosmetics, beyond the fact that most people just don't want to be looking at a bunch of rough-in work that's functionally the same but aesthetically atrocious. I was a finisher for some years. Painting, staining, so in other words making your brand new piece of shit house that you paid way too much for look nice. Amazing how many homeowners get duped or just plainly have idea what they are doing or agreeing to. I've worked at 2 fast food restaurants in my life. At each one, the only time that food safety protocol was followed or enforced was the day that the health inspector was coming to grade us. I should also note that both stores received 100% every time the health inspector came. My point in posting was that even though they appear clean, or have a high score posted for their health inspection, that doesn't mean they're following all of the guidelines set in place for them. We sell software and we have a page that has instructions for setting it up Linux servers, but that's basically all we know about the OS and as much as any of us actually care to learn it. If asked, the going policy is that our Linux specialist is out this week, but we'll totally refresh what we know by going over the page with you. I work in a deli and bakery currently. All of our food is from frozen and they want me to call in fresh baked in store every day. Dude, it was frozen for 3 months, thawed for an hour and then cooked. It's no better than anything else you get from the freezer section, and in many cases the freezer section is higher quality stuff. I recently started working at a fairly fancy resort and we just finished renovating a floor of the hotel, and a lot of the new furniture had Argentine cowhide as the leather for it. We were instructed to tell guests that it was a fake synthetic material just in case. Not now, but back when I worked as an aide at a nursing home, we were forbidden from telling patients we were short-staffed. We were, and it was the fault of administration because they were trying to save money. but literally the residents would be yelling at us because their shower was late or whatever, and we were supposed to just act like it was because we were lazy. Weren't allowed to tell them it was because I had the entire wing by myself. The administrator was sick of having angry family members calling to complain and decided we should take the brunt of it instead. Cellphone Store. Customers returned perfectly good phones all the time. We were told to sell the boxes as brand new, first-time activations, and purposefully leave out the fact that they had, in fact, already been activated and taken home, within 48 hours. I'd be pissed if I bought a phone full price and it was even slightly used. I let those phones get dusty and would never sell them just to spite that shitty-ass policy. Our sales prices are just normal prices. Had to stock some pressure washers a few months back. They're $199 each when scanned. The next day I have to put up more, scan them, and they show up as $279 each. Couple weeks later they're on sale for $199 each. Not in my current job, but when I worked in retail, we had to process waste food off the floor, waste food being fresh items that had been reduced on their use-by date and then wasted or removed from our stock level, because the company didn't want customers to see how much food was wasted. It was a lot. We could process damaged items on floor or items that had been taken out of the fridges and dumped elsewhere by customers, but not out of date or end-of-life products. We did trial giving our waste food to a local homeless shelter, but head office stopped it because it wasn't viable, which I took to mean there wasn't any money in it for head office. So I pushed them, and they then said they were worried there might be lawsuits against the company for giving out-of-date food to people, we could accidentally poison somebody, etc. I'm talking trolleys of food. Liquids were poured away and written off, food was placed in bin bags and thrown in huge bins around the back of the store that were locked to stop people digging through it. Some of my colleagues would pour bleach or industrial strength floor cleaner over it too. I had a problem with wasting so much food and thought the excuses head office gave for not allowing us to donate was rubbish. It was all about the bottom line for them. The company itself makes a lot of noise about how environmentally friendly and green they are and how much work they do for charity, when behind the scenes it wasn't like that at all. They had a really shitty attitude towards their staff in general too. I'm a cashier and everyone needs to keep the override card over a mysterious button that is next to a till at customer service. It's attached to a big red light and has a wire connecting it to the phone. Nobody knows what it does and we don't want to find out. I work at a package store, liquor store for all you non-New Englanders, with a pretty big wine cellar. It's pretty cool, but we can't go down there alone because it's absolutely chock full of snakes. They're only garter snakes, and the reason they've let it continue like this is BC they're keeping the mice population at bay. We have the buddy system rule. BCR managers are terrified someone's gonna get bit one day, but for the most part they leave us alone. I had a job as a busser, and we were never given breaks, had a shift that averaged 6 hours, and were not allowed to be seen talking to servers, casually, sitting, and at the tail end of when I worked there, we weren't allowed to even sit in the back. We had up to 10-hour shifts where we had to stand without breaks and look busy. I never realized how much I hated that place until a few days after I quit. I had a job which claimed all of their dressings were homemade. So we had to go to the back to fill the couple that were not. Also, they would say that none of the desserts were frozen by keeping the freezer for the desserts and everything else above the standard temp for a commercial freezer. So years ago I was involved in developing and deploying a system for a chain of jewelry stores. They offer a guarantee that they will buy back your piece for whatever you paid for it. This makes sense, because jewelry doesn't really lose value, and you're not taking inflation into account. Also, most people don't return their jewelry. Long story short, they go live, and the very first day we get a ticket because the customer bought a ring for $5,000. But the certificate of value printed out that it was worth only $4,000. We dig into the database and the code, and sure enough, the database says $4,000. The cert is correct. The problem was with the salesperson. He should have overridden the value with the actual sales value. Anyway, the lesson learned is that even if you get a 25% discount on jewelry, you're not even starting to cut into their profits. Thank you for watching Reddit Central. Make sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss any new videos. Feel free to share any similar stories in the comments below.